Shalom, shalom. I'm give all honor and glory and praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone for teaching us truth and sincerity. Salutation to the helpful elect that spirit at the four corners of the earth. All right, so the title, um, as you can see, the Genesis, the third chapter, part two. I did a part one. Um, so if you haven't watched part one, go check out part one. I covered verses 1 through 14, and in this part, I'll be covering verse 15 through 24. All right. All right, and I suggest you to go check out part one, like I said, because it covered a lot of information and included a lot of precepts in part one. So, um, suggest you go check that out before you watch part two. Well, I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to jump right into the 15th verse, and it reads, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So look at the word enmity, right? Strong, it's strong. H342, and it reads, Ava, Ava. So enmity, hatred. So ultimately, that represents that there's gonna be hatred between the Israelites and the Edomites, right? And you can see that now how strongly the Edomite come against the Israelite, either by their laws, by their by their different laws they put against the Israelite, including Native Americans, Native Americans, Latinos, so-called black person, Haitian, all of those different Asian, all those on this 12 tribe side are all Israelites, and they have, Edomite, they have a hatred of the people of Israel, because of that, because of that, it goes all the way back to, Esau, when he wasn't given that promise that was given to Jacob, right? So, and it goes back to here, right? And it goes back here as well, Genesis 3rd chapter 15 verse, because of the serpent and Eve, right? And because Adam was beguiled by the serpent as well, and there was an enmity and a hatred between the woman and the seed the serpent come from. And when we go to that word, it shall bruise thy head. Ultimately, the Israelites would take the Edomites down, right, and thou shall bruise his heel. Which represent that so I can bear with me. I'm pretty sure I'm correct. That the Israelites, the bruise thy head, the Israelite would end the Edomites. Thou shalt bruise his heels, representing Esau will bring Israel down, but Israel will rise up again, right? And that can represent going all the way back to the Renaissance period um, when Esau came back into leadership, and they started the whole, which Renaissance again means rebirth in French, and that was the rebirth of Esau coming back into leadership, and that where you get iconoclasm when they were whitewashing all of the so-called who's like a so-called black person. They painted their face over the picture to look like a so-called white person, right? And then from there they're currently ruling now this present day, but ultimately, you know, Esau power structures going down again, and ultimately the Israelites will come back in rulership, right, and they will ultimately end. Edom will be ultimately destroyed after those 1,000 years of slavery. So I have a precept here from Second Ezra, the sixth verse. Second Ezra, the sixth chapter, verse 8, and it reads, "And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of them, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau." Verse 9, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Right. So Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So, you know, Esau power structure is prophesied to collapse. It's in Sirach 10, also known as Ecclesiasticus, and it reads, "Smite and sunder smite and sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen that say there is none other but we." Right. So the head represent, can represent the other nations, but Esau is a heathen, so it represents Esau as well. And they say that their kingdom will continue forever, right? And they say that again, there's none other but we. So they basically say that there's no one that can take them down, right? There's no one that can come against their system. Um, I have some more pieces I can pull up as well. Which I'm not gonna go to right now, but paraphrasing, they say that the kingdom will continue forever, right? And that no one can bring them down, right? This is why they get they. This is why American and basically every other heathen nation got a space force of some sort, that because they know that they're they're short. They have a short time a reigning and being rulership, and that's why they get a space force because they know that something bad is about to happen. They know that YAHAWASHI is about to come back and deliver his people, right? The woman, you know, in scripture, the woman is always compared to, Israel, right? And I'm gonna get that piece up as well in Jeremiah, the fourth chapter. No, Jeremiah the sixth chapter. Jeremiah the sixth chapter, the second verse, and reads, "I have likened the daughter of Zion, which represent Israel, to a comely and delicate woman." Right. So again, comparing Israel to a delicate woman. Um, so the so again, going back to Genesis, the third chapter, verse 15, that enmity, we have that enmity, which means hatred. The woman in between thy seed and her seed, right? So ultimately, the serpent seed, which represent Esau, will hate the. So it's just gonna be it's gonna be hatred between the the children of Israel and the children of of the serpent, which represent Esau. It's gonna be like hatred between them, every single day, every single day and night. They're gonna be a hatred between Esau's always gonna want to bring the Israel down, and they're gonna want to do some sort of evil to other people of Israel. So that's a hatred and that enmity that Yahweh Shah put between the serpent and the woman. So going back to where was that? Revelation the 12th verse, right? Revelation 12th verse. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of ours, right? So that which represent wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? The sun and the moon, which represent wisdom, knowledge, right, and the truth, right? And the crown of 12 stars will represent the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So again, the woman is being compared to the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, right? Have another piece. Revelation. Revelation. And it reads, and the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keeps the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach, right? So the dragon, which represent Esau, right? The nation of Edom, and they're making war with the Israel. Ultimately, they want to take they want to take the woman down, or they want to take the nation of Israel down and put the woman into captivity, which they did, right? Because all throughout those time period, we was in different captivities, right? We was in the Roman captivity, which was the main captivity. You know, the Assyrian captivity, the Babylonian captivity. We was in all types of different captivities, right? And I'm gonna move on to verse 16. It reads, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. So which represent um, pregnancy, right? Conception, which represent pregnancy, and sorrow thou shalt bring for children. So correct. So we're going back to the birth pains and contractions. The women, because of Eve, right? Women would have to, because women would have to, go through contractions when they're having, and they're when they're pregnant. And thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Right. So the woman's desire to should be be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And we can read that into another translation as well. We're gonna go to Bibles. NLT, and it reads, then he said to the woman, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth. And you would desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you, right? So the woman desire to control the man, right? Which, in today's society, ultimately, in some sorts, the woman does control the husband because of Esau, ultimately, because going back to that good and evil, that desire the woman had to because today's society, women just want to be, they want to have their own car, they want to have their own house, they want to have their own business. Their motto is that they don't need a man for anything, right? That's the motto of a woman. But ultimately, it is written that the woman will, that the Most High created a new thing in the earth, that the woman was surpass the man, right? You can see that now about the different, woman liberty, woman rights, all those that's being pushed, to further, make the woman more, you know, in better words, make the woman over the man, right? Make the woman more powerful than the man, right? And why, that's why, it's written that the woman was made for the man, and not the woman for them, not the man for the woman, right? One Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. But I would have you know, that the head of every man is Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Mashiach is the Messiah. So that's a proper order. That's order, right? Um, that's the order that was put on the um on the Israelites, that the you know that's the proper order, right? Continue reading the 17th verse. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all thy days of thy life. Right. So which represents that now we would have to eat in order to survive. Right. We have to eat in order to survive. Actually, this. Uh, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 8 goes back to, Genesis, the third chapter, verse 15, which reads, for the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man, right? So the woman is the help, not the man, right? So, so it's ultimately, actually, scratch that, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, chapter 11, verse 8 to 9, which represent that, which unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, right? So, since Adam listened to Eve, which, Eve, she didn't have any place to be, she was out of order. So since Adam eating of the forbidden fruit, he took the knowledge, right, of knowing good or evil, right? Now he is cursed, right? And now he has to, there will be knowing good and evil for the rest of our life, right? We'll be knowing what's righteous, what's evil, all that. We'll be doing all types of manner of evil, right? The 18th verse. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. So we will need medicines in order to survive, right? We will need to eat the different herbs in order to survive, right? And that way you get, your um, that where you get your medicine, right? Your pharmacy, the stores you have to go to for your medicine. 19th verse, and the sweat of thy face shall thou eat bread till thou return to the ground, for out of it was what for out of it was thou taken, and for dust thou art, and to dust thou shalt return. So we'll literally have to work, you know, basically until we die. So this is the curse that was put upon the Edomites, the Israelites, for again um, disobeying the law, right? Disobeying, the YAHAWASHI order to not eat of the forbidden, knowledge, fruit, right? So we will now have to basically work till we die, right? In order to, to survive, or until we, return back to the ground. 20th verse, and it reads, and Adam called his wife named Eve because she was the mother of all living. Correct. So, you know, Eve, um, she was the mother of all living, right? Mainly pertaining to the Israelites. She was the mother of all the Israelites, right? Uh, Continue reading the 21 verse. And to Adam also, and to his wife, did the did YAHAWASHI, the Most High, make coats of skins and clothe them, right? Which represent identity. The identity that was given to the Adamites, right? Which they are known as Israel, right? Second Ezra, two, Second Ezra chapter 2, verse 45, and it reads, He answered and said unto me, These be thy they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal clothes, immortal, and have confessed the name of the Most High. Now are they crowned and receive palms, right? So you can say that they had the Adam, they put on the mortal clothing, right? They put on the mortal clothing, but we will be changed, right? The elect will be changed. We have put off the immortal clothing. We have put off the mortal clothing and gain immortal when we, got this truth. We got this understanding of of who we are as a people, and while we're going through these different things, which can represent we putting off that mortal clothing which was upon Adam and Eve, and put it on the immortal. This truth, this knowledge of the name of Yahweh BAHASHAM RAWCHAA. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 15. And it reads, Yeah, and we are found false witness of the Most High, because we have testified of the Most High that he raised up Hamashiach when he raised not up, if so be that the dead raised not. Correct. So again, going back to the truth, right? 22nd verse. 22nd verse, and reads, And the Lord power said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. So lest he put forth his hand and eat, which can represent go back to righteousness, right? But that you know continue reading 23rd verse. Therefore the therefore Yahweh Shah, the Most High, sent them forth from the garden Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So they ultimately, you know, we had to cultivate the land, whereas before it wasn't necessary because we already had everything was already everything was we already have food. We already had food was already given to us. Or if we go outside, there will be already be something to eat. We didn't have to get, we wasn't getting sick off anything. Um, we didn't have to kill animals in order to survive. Um, but since again going back to since we ate in of that we took that knowledge of good and evil, now we have to do these things in order to survive. 24 verse and reads, so he drove out the man and he placed at the east of the garden of Eden cherubims and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So cherubims, which are angels, they placed a flaming sword, which represent they were blocking Adam and Eve and ultimately Israelites to turn it back, to perfection, right? To turn it back to righteousness and only doing righteousness. So now we think we ate under that fruit of good and evil. Now the only thing we know how to do is good and evil, right? Is evil, mainly evil, but well, mainly both good and evil. But since we're just going back to that flaming sword, there was a blockade or a block, and we cannot go back to that perfection that we once had, um, because of what Adam and Eve did, right? Mainly what Eve did, but all right. So again, if you didn't watch part one, I suggest you to watch Genesis the third chapter, part one, and uh, part two was edifying. I will get all underground praises to Yahawah Shah. Until next time, we'll say Shalom.